Worrisome power outages in South Africa threaten the economy of this regional powerhouse. Just how did the current crisis come about and who's to blame? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm Imran Garda. Well, South Africa has faced its longest electricity cuts ever. This has hit South Africa's booming big business hard, and the government is struggling to get the country's lucrative mineral mining back up to speed. But shops and medical services have had to close too, and of course millions of ordinary people are living with systemic power cuts. Hugo McPherson has more.
South Africa, an economic powerhouse of the modern world. But this week, the dark ages descended when the country faced huge power cuts. Analysts say businesses, big and small, have been affected badly.
Business has been very worried about the load shedding experience in the past week, and we have not had such an experience in our economy over the past decades. And the impact has been huge on business. Many working hours lost, a number of small businesses affected, even big business, a number of them had to shut shops, and it's been an issue that really worried us.
But perhaps the greatest concern lies in South Africa's mining industry. Mining for gold, diamonds and platinum has slowed to a crawl, and the industry's losing more than $40 million a day. But the government's remained optimistic.
Now, the underlying problem is the very significant rise in demand, particularly over the past few years, resulting from an economy working at full capacity and the rising standards of living, with close on 3.5 million homes having access to electricity since 1994. In a sense, we're the victims of our own success.
South Africa may be experiencing an economic boom, at least this far, but ordinary people have other concerns.
It's a big mess because you don't know when can you put what on. If you get home, you can't cook for the children because the electricity is off. You can't work at work because all the lights are off, and then the telephones, so you sit and doing nothing. So it costs us a lot of money.
And it's South Africa's poorest that analysts say will suffer the hardships. Don't forget the country's meant to be hosting the Football World Cup in just 2 years' time, so solutions are needed fast. For now, there seems to be no light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, joining our discussion today are our guests in Cape Town, Ms. Buyelwa Sonjika, South African Minister of Minerals and Energy. In Johannesburg, David Monyai, an independent political analyst and lecturer at the University of the Witwatersrand. And in Cape Town, Jono Busugut, an energy analyst with the global growth consulting company Frost and Sullivan. Welcome, all of you, to the program. Jono Busugut, if I could start off with you. In your opinion, what started this crisis?
Well, you have to remember that in the 90s, South Africa has excess capacity when it comes to electricity generation, and this has prompted the public utility to mothball some of its power stations. So I believe that the fact that there hasn't been any investment at all in generating capabilities in the 90s has triggered the situation at the moment.
Minister Sonjika, you've been in the firing line recently. You have apologized to the South African people for the current crisis. Some people are expecting you to resign. Will you?
Well, I don't think it will be fair to ask any individual to resign. And I wouldn't really want to exonerate myself as part of this collective from the problem. But looking at my life in this department, you must understand that I'm fairly new in the department. I'm only a year old, and this is an old problem. But be that as it may, the ruling party is my organization. And I'm also accountable and answerable for any problem that arises as a result of the governance by my organization. So for that reason, I'm taking responsibility, and it was in that context that I apologized to all South Africans.
I suppose the problem many South Africans have with this is that the government was clearly warned in 1998 that this could happen. Do you think that the government should have done more, those that were in position before you?
In hindsight, all of us, from the president, the deputy president, have considered that we should have done better earlier. And we could, if we had done so, we could have avoided the situation that we're in today. But I think nobody was ever in a situation to understand the growth, especially the rate at which we are growing. It's unprecedented, it was unanticipated. And I think that while we are accepting that we could have planned better, we could have invested in the generation of electricity in our country, but there are factors that have contributed to that as well. And when we took over the country, my colleague is correct to say that we had excess supply. We had 3,000 megawatts excess supply. And indeed, as I said, we did not anticipate the rate at which our economy is growing now.
David Monyai in Johannesburg, do you agree? Is it a basic issue of demand outstripping supply because the economy has grown at an unprecedented level?
There's no doubt about that. When you look at the growth of infrastructure in this country, as we move towards the 2010 World Cup, I think there's so much demand for electricity, but that does not give a justifiable excuse for the sudden shortage of electricity. I think what the minister has said, I think she's right, but in a democratic country such as South Africa, obviously there will be accountability. The bigger question for us all is, when do you go for the question of accountability? Do you say it right now, or you start dealing with stabilizing the situation, and then you do a thorough assessment in terms of the damage, and you try to find corrective measures to avoid such a serious mistake, I think, on part of the government.
Mr. Monyai, you mentioned the 2010 World Cup. Many will be asking, how can it not be affected?
I think the minister will be the right person to answer that. But the little that we have had is that in the short and medium term, there won't be any major disruption of the World Cup, given the fact that the government has rolled certain policies that the minister will, no doubt, explain in terms of what they are doing in the immediate term to lessen the kind of energy used by big users of energy, as well as ordinary people, households.
Jano Busugut, can the power rationing program work? You're an energy specialist and analyst. Do you think that this is a viable solution?
I don't think that the electricity rationing program is viable in the short term. I just think that end users may revert to using generator sets. But to me, in the short term, because of the demand of electricity, which is so high, at 4% per annum, it's very high, and Eskom doesn't have the generating capabilities to supply reliable energy to energy-intensive users. So, but we should perhaps as well look at long-term to medium to long-term strategies, which may not be parallel with the electricity rationing program.
Minister Sonjika, how many years until those new power stations are ready when we talk about long-term solutions? And just to touch on what Mr. Monyai said, he said you'd be the best person to answer whether the World Cup will be heavily affected or not. As I asked earlier on, people will ask, how can it not be affected? It's a huge event and the power stations won't seem to be ready by then.
Well, between now and 2009, we are expecting to generate a capacity up to the amount of 4,800 megawatts. Which comes very close to the deficit that we have, of course, taking into consideration that our economy is still growing. So I don't see any danger for the 2010 World Cup. Secondly, there is a FIFA requirement that all stadia must be supplied with generators as a backup system. We are looking at using the same for facilities like hotels, targeting the hosting cities for the 2010 World Cup. Although I'm tempted to respond to a number of issues that Mr. Munyai is raising, do we have any plan to ensure that this does not reoccur? Indeed, we did not have a plan, a master energy plan in the country. And as we speak, we have already developed that. It was adopted by Cabinet in December. Also, the energy efficiency strategy was not in place. We presently have that strategy in place, and that is the strategy that we are beginning to roll out. Even the national response plan that we have put together, it is an integrated plan. It's looking at number of interventions, not only power rationing. On power rationing, there's international experience in as far as that is concerned that has proven that it can be effective. I think what we need to do, we need to intensify the campaign. We need to monitor the large users because it worked in Brazil. We are interacting with Brazil and we are learning from that experience.
And Mr. Basugu wasn't too convinced that this power rationing program will work in South Africa. Your response to that, and also reading some of the South African press in the past 24 hours, you've been lampooned for some of the comments you made, particularly the one where you said that people should go to bed early so that they can grow and become cleverer. Do you want to clarify that?
Well, I think it was taken totally out of context. I think people need to lighten up. I was presenting a 10-point plan, and one of the issues that I'm raising there, I'm saying government buildings are wasting a lot of electricity because the lights are on 24 hours. And I was saying people must switch off the lights, and the opposition was heckling. And I was responding to one of the members of the opposition in jest, not necessarily to say that it was a message that I was giving to South Africans. And indeed, I think the positive aspect of that is that people will never forget the message.
I'm glad you clarified that with us. Well, don't go away. Time for a short break now. When we come back, we take a closer look at the fallout of the power outages in South Africa on its neighbours and the world. Do stay with us.